When a group of friends decides to stay in a haunted house, they experience the most exciting nights of their lives. Cassie gets her hair and makeup done in a salon. Despite how outrageous her look is, she seems to be very proud of it. Meanwhile, her friend Brandy is performing extreme activities with a man, but he fails to meet her expectations, which leads her to whip him in frustration. Elsewhere, Amber heads to the club where she works as a waitress along with Cassie and Brandy. There, the three prepare for the customers to arrive. As they do, they greet their cook, Enrique, who makes discriminatory remarks about how they look. However, they are unaware of this as he's speaking in Spanish. Meanwhile, the women's trans co-worker, Bunny, arrives at the club. As soon as she steps in, she greets Dale, one of their bartenders. Brandy then tells her to check out Cassie's eyeshadow, which absolutely horrifies her. Brandy jokes that it's a cry for attention, but the other bartender, Lawrence, believes the comment should be applied to her. Changing the topic, Cassie asks Amber how her date went with the doctor. She replies that it ended early, which makes the others assume that she told him about the plan. Amber plans to marry a rich doctor and have one dog and two kids, whom she'll name Shiloh and Loretto. The others laugh at her naivety, while Dale asks if she'll ever find happiness without following the plan. Amber replies no, but Dale argues that she's so occupied with this plan that she's not noticing her options. Just then, Ryan, the bar owner, introduces their new hostess, Dawn. Everybody welcomes Dawn, but Ryan reminds the team not to act too weird around her. He also notices Cassie's extreme makeup, so he tells her to tone it down. After this, he tells Bunny to entertain the table full of doctors, which upsets Amber since she wants that task. As Ryan tries to act strict on the team, everyone purposely tries to make him uncomfortable. At the end of the night, Bunny gets over $300 in tips, and she even bags a date with two rich doctors. Cassie asks Amber about her plans after work, and she bluntly says that her aunt died. This shocks everyone, but she reassures them that this happened long ago and that she didn't even know her. However, she plans on going to her aunt's house, which her mom will sell in the summer. Amber's mom doesn't want to leave it vacant until then, so she's free to use the house as a vacation house until it sells. She also invites her friends to spend the summer there with her. Suddenly, the women ask if her aunt lived there alone, and Amber replies that she used to live there with the love of her life. Meanwhile, at the vacant house, two burglars welcome themselves inside. When one of them pees on the pool, an unknown force pushes him into the water. On the other hand, his accomplice helps himself with some wine, but when he disposes of the bottle, it hits him on the head. The two realize that there must be a paranormal entity in the house, and they confirm this when things suddenly start levitating. Horrified, they run for their lives, and one of them gets hit by a book on their way out. Elsewhere, the women decide to take a look at the house before they go on with their individual activities after work. However, Bunny has a date with the doctors, so she doesn't join. Upon arriving, Brandy finds a book by the entrance, but they all shrug this off. When they get inside, they get shocked at how organized and neat the place looks. They can hardly believe that Amber's aunt managed to maintain it alone. As they look around, they find a picture of Amber's aunt with a man. They assume that it's the love of her life who died in that house 30 years ago. As they put the picture down, they fail to notice that it rearranges itself. Not long after, the women help themselves with some wine and gather for a selfie, but Cassie finds that her phone has mysteriously been powered off. Brandy tries her phone, but it's also powered off, just like Amber's. Realizing that they're in a dead zone, Brandy hesitates about spending her summer there. However, Cassie reassures Amber that she'll accompany her by then. The other women leave shortly after to go on their dates, so Amber is left alone to spend the night at her aunt's house. Before she goes to bed, she drinks some wine when an invisible force touches her. She gets surprised yet a little excited over this. However, she decides to sleep when she realizes that her wine glass is full again, even though she just emptied it. Realizing that she might be drunk, Amber goes to bed in her aunt's sleeping clothes. The following morning, the invisible force returns and pulls her blanket off. Afterward, it starts making her feel good, and Amber gets the experience of a lifetime. Later that day, she goes to work and hears that her co-workers had a horrible date, except for Bunny, who surprised the doctors with her hidden assets and left them wanting more. While getting ready, Brandy asks Amber about her night, and she replies that there must have been a ghost in the house. This surprises everyone, especially when she adds that the ghost gave her the best experience. Wanting to try it for themselves, the women ask to stay with her tonight. Even Bunny is interested in raising the dead. Cassie also invites Dale and Lawrence, who agree to tag along. That night, the group heads to the house. Before going inside, Dale and Lawrence volunteer to check if the vicinity is safe, and Bunny comes along too. They all act vigilant, but Amber reassures them that there's nothing to worry about. While she offers everyone wine, Brandy teases Lawrence, but this annoys him. He tells Brandy Brandy that he might actually like her if she wasn't so provocative. Meanwhile, Cassie and Bunny quickly settle into their rooms, wanting to meet the ghost as soon as possible. Just then, Dale walks into the kitchen where Amber and Brandy are. Brandy tells Dale that Amber got intimate with a ghost, which surprises him. As he tries to offer Amber some wine, the ghost pushes a glass above Dale's head, but he catches it and returns everything to the cupboard. He tries persuading Amber to change her future plans again. As they talk, they physically get closer and almost kiss, but the smoke alarm goes off. To ensure the house is safe, Dale checks the backyard with Lawrence. Suddenly, Bunny storms out of her room, claiming that the ghost has a prejudice against trans women like her. Meanwhile, Cassie also encounters the ghost, but she gets a better experience compared to Bunny. In the backyard, Dale trips over a water hose, which wasn't there a while ago. Pine cones also land on his head twice, which amuses Lawrence. Then, they pass by the pool, where the ghost pushes them into the water. As they struggle to swim, they sense an eerie vibe in the water urging them to get out. Meanwhile, the ghost fully reveals itself to Amber as it moves random things before her. This amuses her, but she suddenly gets concerned when the men walk in, soaking wet. Dale tries to tell Amber what happened, but the ghost kicks him twice. This ultimately drives him to leave the house along with Lawrence. Suddenly, Bunny walks towards the door with her suitcase in hand. As she tries to rant by the doorway, the ghost shuts the door in her face. With that, Brandy takes dibs on Bunny's room. Finally having some alone time, Amber tells the ghost that Cassie likes pain. Consequently, the ghost hits Cassie, but it turns out that Amber made a mistake since Brandy is the one who likes it. The ghost then turns to hit Brandy, which excites her. Meanwhile, Cassie gets pissed at the ghost and almost leaves, but it woos her with its touch. Brandy then leaves her room to get some props in the living room, which she plans on using for her extreme experience with the ghost. Later, the women enjoy their time with the ghost, leading to a noisy yet fulfilling night. The following morning, Brandy wakes up with her makeup smudged and her arms bruised, but this makes her happy. The ghost even leaves her some supplies to tend to her wounds. After showering, the ghost throws out most of Cassie's makeup, allowing her to see that she's already pretty. Meanwhile, Amber wakes up to a cup of coffee and a rose on her nightstand. When they go to work that day, the women are all silent as if something is occupying their minds. Ryan finds this weird since they usually like pestering him. Days pass, and the ghost never fails to please the women. One day, as they relax in the hot tub, they talk about how the ghost can't leave the house, so they plan on bringing some friends over for a pool party. This excites the ghost and lets them know by splashing some water. The pool party commences later that day, filling the house with attractive and single women. That night, they gather in the living room for a slumber party, and they all wait for the ghost. Just then, it surprises everyone with its specialty, and they're all left breathless. The party goes on for days, but the trio gets tired, so they eventually put a halt to it. As they clean the place up, Amber finds the corn figurine that Dale gave her. However, as she places it on the counter, the ghost destroys it. Days pass, and the women go on with their daily routine of going to work and spending the night with the ghost. However, they slowly realize that they're also building genuine relationships with other people. Amber bonds with Dale, Brandy enjoys a wholesome time with Lawrence, and Cassie finally gets along with Ryan. One day, Amber and Dawn pass by Enrique in the kitchen. Enrique disses them again in Spanish, but he gets shocked when Dawn snaps back at him. It turns out that she understands the language, putting Enrique in his place. Amber then joins Cassie and Brandy in the dressing room, where she tells them that her mom is bugging her about starting a family. She explains that she used to dream of it too, but her plans changed because of the ghost. Cassie then asks her about the plan, and she replies that she has a new one, which is to be happy. They then turn to Brandy, asking her the same question. She replies that it's the same as always, which is more pain. Her fascination with pain baffles Cassie, so she asks why Brandy likes it so much. Brandy ponders on the thought, realizing that pain is the only thing that made her feel loved. However, she's not so sure about that now. Just then, Cassie says that they need to give the ghost up sooner or later. This bothers Brandy and Amber since they're not ready to let it go. Amber wants children and a husband, but she also wants to keep the ghost. Thinking that she can have it all, she plans on going on a date with Dale. Cassie finds this amusing since she is also going out with Ryan. As the two gush over their dates, Brandy reprimands them for cheating on their ghost. Cassie and Amber reassure her that it would never hurt them, but Brandy suddenly shows them her bruise, which proves just what the ghost is capable of. That night, Brandy stays in the house while the other two go on their dates. The ghost tosses some cuffs and a whip on her bed, but she politely asks if they could just chill for the night. This upsets the ghost, causing it to storm out of the room. Amber and Cassie soon return from their amazing dates, but get the same experience as they're about to go to bed. This concerns them. The following morning, the ghost makes it obvious that it's still holding a grudge as it messes with their things. Because of this, Brandy takes the others outside, telling them to ditch the men they're dating. Just then, the door opens on its own, and a strong gust of wind blows behind them. Horrified, the women realize that the ghost can leave the house after all. Amber takes the blame for everything, saying that she put them all at risk. Because of this, she plans to talk to the ghost when she comes home from work. However, Brandy and Cassie ask her not to, fearing for her. Later that day, Amber tells Dawn not to give her more tables to serve as she plans to go somewhere. She immediately heads to the house to talk to the ghost, and when her friends realize this, they alert Dale, Lawrence, and Ryan. At the house, Amber musters the courage to tell the ghost that everything is over. However, it gets angry, leading it to pin her to the wall while it lashes out and breaks things in the room. Elsewhere, the group drives their way to the house, but Lawrence doesn't step on the gas because he doesn't want to get a citation. The group pressures him to hurry up, so he drives as fast as he can. Meanwhile, the ghost has gone extremely hostile, and it brings out a knife. However, when Amber says she will always love the ghost, it calms down. By the time she opens her eyes, everything has gone back to normal, and the room is as organized as they left it. Just then, the ghost sends out their suitcases as if telling them to leave. The group finally arrives, asking Amber if she's okay. When she replies that she is, everyone gathers their things and leaves the house. Days later, they all gather at Amber's house for a little celebration. There, Lawrence asks Brandy on a date, which she gladly accepts. Suddenly, Amber's mom offers them some cookies, and she informs them that the house got sold. Unbeknownst to them, Dawn bought it. Meanwhile, Bunny gets assigned to look after the club while Ryan and the others are away. The two doctors who fancy her visit, leading her to refuse other customers. At Amber's house, everyone looks at a group photo of her aunt. To their surprise, Amber's mom points to a different woman in the photo, who she reveals was her aunt's greatest love. The group is surprised that the ghost was a woman all along.